Welcome to Encounter Wargaming. I'm Jay, and today I'm going to be showing you the rules for the original Gorkamorka. Alright, let's dig into this sucker. So we've got the rules, the first book for Gorkamorka, the board game. Awesome. So this was about the same era as the past Necromunda books that I showed you guys. And I believe I mentioned these in those Necromunda videos, and so I thought, you know what, let's give these guys Gorkamorka too, because I've had these books forever. I actually used to have multiple copies of these books, to tell you the truth. I apologize for the fact that this one's written on. I don't understand why. Obviously I didn't do this. But like I say, I did have multiple copies of this, so I sold the one that wasn't written on, because I figured it could fetch a price on eBay, and I was right. So, I kept these couple of books, so I'll be showing you this one, and I'll show you the next one next week. But for now, let's take a blast from the past and check out Gorkamorka. So the first thing I want to point out is that it's $7.95. Good luck friggin' finding a GW book for $7.95, even back in the day. So this was probably sold in a used store, and then I later bought it on eBay. So, the rules. As usual, you always want to check out the publishing page. We've got Rick Priestley, Andy Chambers, and Gavin Thorpe. These are the guys that we've been seeing in a lot of these books. These are the guys that basically created Warhammer. So we're looking at the date. We're looking at 1997. Awesome. That's where it's coming from. So with the Necromunda stuff, it was the mid-90s as well. So this is basically the same era. Just at the end of that era. And this rule set is more or less that era of Necromunda. I mean, that's basically the way the games worked back then. I mean, with Second Ed 40K, the mechanics were very similar, as well with Necromunda, and of course carrying through to Gorkamorka, the difference being that this game introduced a lot of vehicle rules that weren't included in Necromunda, as far as I know. That was basically just gang warfare, whereas this takes place on the world of Gorkamorka, where two rival orc factions are constantly battling Mad Max style. So here we go, we've got the starter box. Back again when they used to give you awesome cardboard terrain, everything was cardboard, even this like gate slid in and out. Of course there were plastic bits, the bulkheads, there you go right there. The exact same bulkheads that they had in the Necromunda plastics to hold all the cardboard together. They just made the cardboard more orky. And of course this came with what we still know today as the war track, and the truck luckily has been updated, but it took forever for them to update that kit. They have not still to this day updated that war track, so that tells you how old that model is. So this is 97, what are we looking at now? 2017, well 2018 now we're into. So literally this is a 20-year-old model. Probably shouldn't still be in the line, but hey, who am I to judge? So here we go. We got all the counters, the dice, again with the sustained fire dice, something they later took out of the games, but pretty much 40K, Necromunda, and Gorkamorka all had that die at this point. The artillery dice as well, which has obviously made a comeback in Necromunda with the new version of Necromunda, but was also included in the old one. It was in Warhammer Fantasy actually up until 7th at least. I never played 8th, so I don't know if they kept the artillery die, but it's definitely gone now with Age of Sigmar. Alright, so characteristics. We've got our standard characteristics, the 10 characteristics that we're used to seeing with Warhammer. Obviously, of course, Sigmar now only has 4. 40K has taken out initiative and stuff like that, but basically these characteristics have been the same since the beginning of time. Through all GW's gaming systems. I mean, with the exception of naval combat, like Battlefleet Gothic and Dreadfleet and stuff like that, but all the 28mm games that they produce. And standard turn phase, movement phase, running, charging, just like it worked in 2nd edition as well as in Necromunda. Obviously, whoever owned this book before has also highlighted the key points of these paragraphs. So I'm sorry I gotta show you a written over copy, guys, but this is what I got. So, like I say, I sold my mint one, which I'm regretting now. The old Gorkamorka plastics. How awesome were these models? I'm actually going to zoom in on that for you guys. Look at those models right there. How awesome are those? I actually currently possessed a bunch of these up until recent. Actually, I guess not that recent. About 10 years ago, I actually had a bunch of the old plastic orc bikes, which also came in this set. And then they updated the orc bikes to 4th edition, I guess 4.5. They updated the orc kit right before 5th, the biker kit. And so I had all these old ones, and they were all in the exact same pose, riding the bike, right? So these Gorkamorka scale orcs, since that plastic bike was made for Gorkamorka, were the same scale, like quite a bit smaller than the current orc models, which were actually sculpted in 3rd edition, if you can believe that. So I cut their feet off and I put them on the things, and at least, even though they're old school models, they're not all exactly the same. And I got to use these old models still to this day. And if you're lucky, maybe I'll put them in one of my future orc battle reports. But yeah, I haven't had the chance to use bikers yet, but we're getting off topic. So, checking out. Range, hit modifiers, standard. Your standard to hit, subtracting from 7, the way it always was. Range modifiers, +1, +3, so on and so forth, -1. Various long range, short range, the same way it worked in Necromunda at this time. The same way it worked in 40k at this time. Yep, the 7+ to hit chart. Again, these are like the universal things that we see in Warhammer mechanics up until the present age, that is. Cool, so now we're getting into the more nitty-gritty. We've got pinned, injuries, flesh wounds, taking someone out of action, going down. Yes, I realize what I just said. When a warrior's down, stick bombs, cool. How far you can throw based on your strength. That's pretty cool. And of course the scatter die and the artillery die. Awesome. Templates and how they scatter. Again, we used to use the scatter die and the artillery die with it. Now we just use, well, I guess now we don't use any scatter die at all, but in 30k we still use the scatter die, but with D6s. Flame templates. Awesome. Daka Daka! There you go, ammo jams, multiple shots, ammo rolls, ammo jams, so again, very similar to the Necromunda rules that we've seen, the old Necromunda rules. Don't worry guys, we'll be playing some new Necromunda coming up on the channel, so keep an eye out for that. Adam will be taking the Eschers and I'll be taking the Goliaths. So anyway, back to Gorkamorka. Fighting, hand-to-hand combat. So again, we're looking at the standard turn sequence that we've seen in 40k right from the beginning, or Warhammer right from the beginning. Movement phase, shooting phase, assault phase. There you go. Standard core turn sequence. Weapons. Armor modifiers. Fumbling, critical blows. Sweet. Multiple combats. Vehicles. Excellent. There we go. Look at that. That's so Mad Max. Love the artwork. This tire's like flying off. Ugh, orcs are so cool. And look how customized these vehicles are. It's amazing that back then, like, they just had like one plastic kit for the truck. And it was just up to you to just like get creative and make it unique. Using whatever you had. Man. Good old days where they actually expected you to kit bash stuff. So here we go. That's the vehicle rules as far as moving. We've got the tourney situation. So the starter set came with that weird little like tourney gubbins, and that showed you how far you could turn. So I guess you could only make so many 45-degree turns at a time. You couldn't just move in any direction like you can currently in 40k. Kind of the way flyers worked in the last edition, where you could only make one 90-degree turn. It's kind of like that kind of thing in this. Obviously, you know, you can move a few inches and then turn, move a few inches and then turn, but obviously you can't just turn on the spot and then go, because you were already moving the whole time. It just creates a more realistic mechanic to the game, that the trucks are constantly moving. So if you want to turn, you gotta like all the way around, right? Do a big wheelie. There you go, even a shorter turn, it still takes, you know, distance from here to here is like 6 inches, right? After you've made a couple of turns, you've actually moved them quite a bit. So you gotta be real careful about how you move around with your vehicles. And the cool thing is, back then, if I remember correctly, you could actually fit as many orcs on a vehicle that could physically fit on the vehicle, even in this game. So, that means you dudes could just hitch a ride on a war track, on a truck. I don't know if you could do it on bikes, but I don't see why you couldn't, because bikes and tracks, even here, listed under other stuff, are kind of included in the same category, I guess. So we've got various slow speed maneuvers you can do. Awesome. Thrusters, so I guess high speed stuff. You gotta roll on a table to see if he spins out or if he just goes straight ahead or if he's actually allowed to turn. That's pretty cool. There you go, getting on and off. Orcs of Gorkamorka use their vehicles to carry warriors into battle. Vehicles can carry as many warriors as you can fit on board them. Obviously you shouldn't balance warriors on top of each other, and if they fall off when you move the vehicle when you're trying to carry too many, they put a million O's on that too, too many, there are plenty of good reasons for not cramming too many warriors onto your vehicle. Models that get on or off a vehicle before it uses its thrusters, incomplete safety. But if it starts using its thrusters, boys should hang on as best they can! Exclamation point. Try to get on board a vehicle using its thrusters. It's covered by boarding rules later. Okay, blah blah blah. This models which are jumping off the vehicle in contact with the side or the rear, and then plonk models straight into combat. If you wish, count as charging, and if they survive the jump, roll a d6. Models will take strength 3 hit on a d6 roll of a 4, 5, or 6. Any model that suffers a hit may not move any further. Otherwise, the models may complete their move as normal. Blah blah blah. Hiding, charging, running. Blah blah blah. Not on board, leave the vehicle in the same turn. So they've obviously done away with the rule in Second Ed, where like if you could also fit as many orcs on the vehicle as you possibly could physically fit on the vehicle, but if they fell off while you were moving it, they took like a strength 3 or strength 4 hit, which is awesome. So in this, they don't fall off as you're moving it because that's just silly. But if they jump off, then you have to test to see if they just have to roll out of it or if they can actually act as normal. Vehicles without a driver. Right. That's pretty cool. So you can kill the driver, the vehicle actually does stuff. There you go. 1 to 3 it turns right, or 1 to 3 it turns left, 4 to 6 it turns right. D6 inches forward. So it's completely out of control, but still in the game. That's awesome. Tailing and racing. Badass. Ram, ram, ram! Crunch! So orky. Rams to the side, rams to the rear. Obviously deciding your side facing, rear facing, front facing. Swerving, screech. Hit on rams, crunch! I love this. They gotta add the little orky comic book sound effect. So good. Rake, side swiping. So many vehicle rules. This is literally Mad Max on the tabletop. Loving it. Damage from rakes and side swipes. Crashes, collisions. There we go. Vehicle shooting. Look at the bike. Can only fire straight ahead down this corridor. These vehicles, they have a 90-degree fire arc. Done away with all that in 40k now, which is sad. But in a game like this, which obviously skirmish level, you can have a much more granular system. You don't have to worry so much about generalities. Whereas 40k today, obviously they've tried to streamline it, and it's gotten very abstract in the sense that, you know, vehicles can shoot completely behind them, which makes no friggin' sense, in my opinion. Bikes aren't even vehicles for that matter. So, here we go. Linked weapons. So you're looking at twin linked and stuff like that. Hits on vehicles. Rolling on locations. Just like they did in 2nd edition. When you hit a vehicle, you had to roll for what location you hit, and then you roll on a separate table based on, at least that's how it worked in 2nd Ed. There was a different damage table for each specific location on a vehicle. I don't know if it's like that on this. The Rules look much simpler, obviously. I didn't see data sheets anywhere, so stationary vehicles, drivers and bikes. Jumping from vehicle to vehicle, that is freaking cool. Literally, you could like rake your one truck up the side of the other and then just have guys start jumping off one onto the other to fight the orcs on the back of their own truck. Oh, so cool. The clever stuff. Hiding, exploding weapons. Cool. Psychology. Fear, terror. Driver, fear or terror. Stupidity, hatred. Again, these are generic psychology rules that were pretty much around since like first edition fantasy and have continued through up until our current age, where again, I don't play Age of Sigmar, but I imagine it's even simpler than 40k, and in 40k they've done away with pretty much all psychology at this point. It's just boiled down to like units having their own individual special rules that do stuff other than your standard morale at the end of the turn, which is a very oversimplified psychology. Frenzy, cool. So again, we're seeing this, I keep repeating myself, but we're seeing this in the Necromunda rules, we're seeing this in the old 40k rules. In fact, I might even in the future get into the second ed stuff. I have every book, I think, that came out in second edition, so we can take a good journey through that. Just comment below, guys, if you go on to see second edition stuff. Please, comment below. Overwatch, going on Overwatch. So again, this is more like it was in second ed, where you sacrificed your turn in order to be able to fire in the enemy turn, rather than the current state of things where you get to shoot in your turn, and then when people assault you, you get to shoot again in the same turn, which is kind of silly, but I guess it makes sense with the new streamline rules. Weapons, no watts, hit modifiers, strength modifiers, save modifiers, ammo rolls. Chains and flails, Uj choppas, so we're getting into hand weapons now, and clubs, knives, 6 shooters, cool. So they're actually differentiating, obviously, just like they did in Necromunda, between chains and knives, and you got brass knuckles and big choppas, and you know, again, in a skirmish level game, you can get very granular with how different you make all the weapons, whereas in 40k, it's like they were all just close combat weapons, as currently in 30k, like a sword or a knife or a chainsword, it didn't matter. It's just, it's a close combat weapon. Nowadays, I mean, they do kind of differentiate, but an orc choppa gives you +1 attack, a chainsword gives you +1 attack, a brutal assault weapon gives you +1 attack, currently in 40k. So really, they are really all the same thing. They've just named them other things. But anyway, it is what it is. Orc guns, shooters, cannons, blunderbusses, crossbows. Crossbows. That's something I didn't expect to see in this book. That's pretty cool. Again, still remnants of fantasy showing through. Big guns, heavy shooter. So that's your big shooter, I guess. You got scorchers, spear guns, rocket launchers, harpoon guns. Badass. Yeah, I remember the old model for the harpoon gun. In fact, I might even have one kicking around somewhere. The old Gorkamorka harpoon gun, which I started to paint up last edition. I was just going to use it as a rocket launcher. But I have sadly realized that in our current state of 40k, rocket launchers are useless in the hands of orcs. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Getting back onto Gorkamorka. Stick bombs, frag, crack, standard. Slaver stuff. Grab-a-sticks, whips, nets. Cool. So you can have snotlings, you can have grots. Well, Gretchen. I think this is the first time they might have been called grots, actually, in this game. Before that, they were just Gretchen. And third, they called them grots. Armor, your standard armor. That, again, has been all the way through Warhammer 40k, Necromunda. You got a shield, you got studded armor, flak armor, heavy armor. Cool. +1 to your armor, yep. So there you go. Whereas this is 6. This is 5. Actually, this is 6. Flak armor gives a saving throw of 6, and increased to 5 against weapons which have a blast marker. Oh, that's interesting. And that's to streamline that in 3rd to be flak armor at 5. So it's a 6, but a 5 against blasts. That makes a lot of sense, actually. It'll stop shrapnel better than it'll stop a bullet. Heavy armor, so your carapace. Orcs call it heavy armor, always have. Gubbins, so all the things you add to your vehicles. So we got spikes, armor plates, wrecking balls, grabbers, reinforced rams, boarding planks, loads of ammo. You just stack up your vehicle with ammo. That's awesome. What does it actually do? Loads of ammo. Gubbins is damaged on 4+, blah blah blah. Ignores its first failed ammo roll. Cool. That's cool. Here you go. Here's locations. It's a buggy or truck location table. I was saying I didn't see tables. Well, here they are. So when you roll the hit, when you shoot at a vehicle, even in 2nd edition it used to work this way. You shoot at a vehicle, you roll for which location it's got. So here we've got a D6. We've got the crew. We've got fixed weapons, gubbins, driver, engines. In 2nd edition it was even worse than that. Sometimes it was a D12. Sometimes it was a D8. Sometimes it was a D4 plus a D6, or a 3 plus a D4, and like, you know, there's all kinds of crazy shit like that. But I guess with these games, with both Necromunda and with this game, they've tried to really focus on the D6s. And they've just kept their special D6s, like the artillery dice and the sustained fire dice. Sustained fire die, I should say. And artillery die, scattered die. Other than that, it's all D6s, so there you go. So you roll for your location, then once you hit the location, there's a separate damage table for each location. I guess when you have 3 vehicles on the field, it's not that big of a deal. There you go, bike location table, very different than the buggy or truck location table. And that is the whole rule book. Here at the end of the book, as we're kind of used to seeing, we've got our basic summaries, so that the hit chart to wound chart, as always, just your basic weapons, their stats, so you can quickly look them up, as well as the basic turn sequence, and, well, I guess this is just your hand-to-hand combat sequence, actually. It's interesting. Injury table. Make sure to show you guys a good shot of that. There you go. Movement phase, shooting phase, hand-to-hand, recovery. Bam. That's the game. That's the turn sequence. That's the turn sequence we've always had. And it gives you the summaries, moving vehicles, ramming, boarding, overwatch, charging, running, etc. So, that's the book, the rules. So I hope you guys enjoyed that blast from the past. I had a great time going through that book. That was so awesome. So we checked out the rules for Gorkamorka. This is the original book. I'm sorry for the condition of it. I wish I had the one that was in better condition, but like I say, I have long since capitalized on that one. Next week, I will be showing you guys the 2nd book that came in the original Gorkamorka set, aptly called The Other Book. So we got the rules and the other book. Cool. So we're gonna check that out next week. I hope you guys enjoy these classic videos, these Relics of the Dark Age videos that I'm doing. I got a whole bunch of wicked old stuff that I just want to show off to you guys. So I'm just gonna keep pumping these guys out for you. If you like these videos, please hit the subscribe button. We love it when people hit the subscribe button, and even better when you hit that little bell next to the subscribe button, because then you will be notified when our videos come out. Also guys, if you really like our videos and you want to support what we do here at Encounter Wargaming, you can go down to the description below and check out our Patreon campaign. All the rewards are listed there. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you get back just for donating a small amount of money to these daily videos that you already get for free. You get a whole bunch of other perks. And of course we have goals that we're trying to reach, and the more of you that pledge, the quicker we reach those goals, and actually the more you get out of Encounter Wargaming, the more everyone gets out of Encounter Wargaming. So check it out, help us out. Otherwise, tune in again next week when I will show you the 2nd half of this Gorkamorka set, and we will see you at our next encounter.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home. Okay.